Your mind is trapped, and now it's slowly killing your life. Imagine your mind like a computer infected with a silent virus that's controlling your thoughts and choices. What if this virus was installed by society through media, traditions, and silent rules you never questioned? Most people blame bad luck for their failures, never realizing it's their own mind working against them. In this video, you'll discover 8 mind traps that secretly control your life, and the last one is the most dangerous of all. So, trap number 1 is perfectionism. It's one of the easiest traps to fall into. On the surface, it looks like ambition, like you're simply trying to do your best. But underneath, it's often driven by fear, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being judged. Picture someone with a great idea or goal who keeps making small adjustments, refining details, reworking the plan, and second-guessing every step. They never launch because it never feels quite ready. And while they chase perfection, the opportunity quietly slips away. Perfectionism can motivate us to improve, but it also locks us in a cycle of overthinking and hesitation where nothing ever feels good enough. According to the American Psychological Association, perfectionism is closely linked to anxiety and depression. When you constantly set impossible standards, you train your brain to reject anything less than perfect. And in a world that tells you to be the best, chasing perfection becomes a trap. The second trap is the illusion of control. The false belief that if we plan perfectly and manage every detail, we can control how every situation turns out. It feels smart, but the truth is, you can only guide things, not control them. Psychologist Ellen Langer found that when life doesn't go as expected, this illusion can quickly turn into stress and frustration. Think of someone planning a big family event. They organize everything perfectly, but then the weather changes or a guest cancels last minute, and suddenly they feel like they've failed. Trying to control everything is exhausting, and it rarely works the way we hope. To break free, focus on the things you can truly control, such as your choices and actions. Let go of the pressure to predict every outcome and trust yourself to face whatever happens, even if it's not what you expected. Next is negative self-talk. It's one of the quietest yet most damaging habits we develop. Every time you tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "I always mess things up," you're not just expressing doubt. You're training your brain to believe it. Cognitive behavioral therapy shows that repeated negative thoughts create pathways in the brain that shape how we see ourselves and face challenges. Over time, the brain treats these thoughts as facts, not as passing feelings. Picture a student who says, "I'm terrible at math." Soon, it's not just math they fear, it's the belief that they'll never improve. When your own voice turns against you, self-doubt takes over. That's where failure begins. At number 4, we have black and white thinking. It's a mental habit where you see everything as either all good or all bad, with no in-between. You either succeed or you fail. You're either loved or rejected. This kind of thinking doesn't work because it ignores the complicated nature of real life, where most situations fall somewhere in the middle. It oversimplifies problems and leads you to snap judgments that often aren't true. Imagine having a small argument with a close friend. Words are said, feelings get hurt, and right away your mind jumps to, "They must hate me," or "This friendship is ruined." Instead of seeing it as just a rough moment in a strong relationship, everything suddenly feels broken. One disagreement makes you forget all the good times and trust you've built over the years. Learning to see the middle ground, not just good or bad, but the progress in between, can help bring back balance and make everyday life feel less overwhelming. Number 5 is discounting the positive. It's when you downplay or dismiss the good things in your life, convincing yourself they don't really count. Maybe your car broke down, and just when you thought the day couldn't get worse, a friend happened to drive by and gave you a lift. No questions asked. You were lucky, but instead of feeling grateful, you shrugged it off as just a coincidence. Behavioral science shows that when we keep ignoring the good, our brains start filtering it out. We stop noticing the wins, the kindness, the timing that worked in our favor. But letting yourself feel even a little pride or joy doesn't mean you're fooling yourself. It means you're letting the good moments count. And sometimes that's where healing quietly begins. Trap number 6 is the victim mindset. Picture someone stuck in traffic who blames every red light, every driver, and every delay, but never checks if they left the house late. This victim mindset makes you believe that life is always unfair and that you're the one who always gets the short end of the stick. But this way of thinking slowly takes away your power. You stop trying to improve because you believe nothing will change. You miss chances, avoid risks, and stay in the same place. The truth is, taking even a little responsibility gives you the power to choose a different direction. And that is where real change begins. The 7th trap is mind reading and making assumptions. This is when you believe you know what others are thinking, even when there's no proof. Picture yourself at a party, convinced that someone's raised eyebrow or half smile means they're judging you. But the truth is, most of the time, they're not even thinking about you. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that when people try to guess what others are thinking about them, they get it wrong about 80% of the time. In other words, most of the thoughts we assume others have, whether it's judgment, disapproval, or dislike, are actually just stories we create in our own minds. These false guesses usually come from our own fears and self-doubt. It just makes you feel alone, anxious, and disconnected. This habit doesn't just block real connection, it turns small worries into huge fears and people into enemies in your mind. The last trap, and maybe the hardest to escape, is emotional reasoning. This happens when you believe something is true just because you feel it. If you feel scared, you assume something bad will happen. If you feel like a failure, you believe you are one, even when there's no real proof. This trap feels real because emotions are loud. When you're sad, anxious, or angry, your brain treats those feelings like facts. It says, if I feel it this strongly, it must be true. But that's not always the case. You can feel like nobody cares, even when people do. You can feel like you're not enough, even when you are. That's the danger. Emotional reasoning turns momentary feelings into lasting beliefs. It can lead to poor decisions, damaged relationships, and a cycle of self-doubt. Emotions matter, but they aren't always the truth. Let me know in the comments which of these traps you've fallen into. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.